Hello, Year 8. This PowerPoint is going to help you with a key extract from Chapter 3. At this point in Animal Farm, Mr. Jones has fled the farm following the animals' revolution. Old Major, who was the respected pig at the start of the novel, who talked about the need for a revolution, has died of old age. And the 7 commandments have been written. So this bit here is the extract that you are going to focus on. So I'll read it out to begin with. The pigs did not actually work, but directed and supervised the others. With their superior knowledge, it was natural that they should assume leadership. Even the ducks and hens toiled to and fro all day in the sun, carrying tiny wisps of hay in their beaks. That word toiled there means to work very, very hard and implies great effort. The animals were happy as they had never conceived it possible to be. Every mouthful of food was an acute positive pleasure now that it was truly their own food, produced by themselves and for themselves, not doled out to them by a grudging master. As for the pigs, they could already read and write perfectly. The dogs learned to read fairly well, but were not interested in reading anything except the 7 commandments. The mystery of where the milk went was soon cleared up. It was mixed every day into the pig's mash. The early apples were now ripening, and the grass of the orchard was littered with windfalls. The animals had assumed as a matter of course that these would be shared out equally. One day, however, the order went forth that all the windfalls were to be collected and brought to the harness room for the use of the pigs. Squealer was sent out to make the necessary explanations to the others. "Comrades," he cried, "you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing this in the spirit of selfishness and privilege. Many of us actually dislike milk and apples. Milk and apples, this has been proved by science, comrades, contain substances absolutely necessary to the well-being of a pig. We pigs are brain workers." Okay, I'm going to ask you to pause this video now and write down, or if you have a printed copy, underline 3 things that we learn about the pigs and their behaviour in this extract. Now you should have 3 things written down or highlighted about how the pigs are presented, how they come across to us in this extract. I'm going to go through now and highlight the bits of information, the key phrases and words that I think are important in this extract. So the opening sentence is really interesting. The pigs did not actually work, but directed and supervised the others. So I'm just going to underline that bit and underline these 2 phrases as well. With their superior knowledge, again, I'm going to underline superior knowledge. I'm going to go back over these phrases once I've gone through the whole text. It was natural that they should assume leadership. Again, I'm going to underline that. So already lots and lots to pick out. Even the ducks and hens toiled to and fro all day in the sun, carrying tiny wisps of hay in their beaks. I'm going to highlight that bit in a different colour, because even though it's not about the pigs, we still learn a little bit about them. The animals were happy as they had never conceived it possible to be. Every mouthful of food was an acute positive pleasure now that it was truly their own food, produced by themselves and for themselves, not doled out by a grudging master. So I'm just going to underline produced by themselves there as well. As for the pigs, they could already read and write perfectly. Again, that's about the pigs. I'm going to underline that bit. The dogs learned to read fairly well, but were not interested in reading anything except the 7 commandments. The mystery of where the milk went to was soon cleared up. It was mixed in every day into the pig's mash. Now, I hope that lots of you had picked up on this detail in the text. The early apples were now ripening and the grass of the orchard was littered with windfalls. The animals had assumed as a matter of course that these would be shared out equally. Again, I'm going to underline this bit in green for the same reason that I underlined a bit about the ducks in green. One day, however, the order went forth that the windfalls were to be collected and brought to the harness room for the use of the pigs. So I'm going to underline order and for the use of the pigs. Squealer was sent out to make the necessary explanations to the others. Again, going to underline that bit there. Lots to take out from this extract. Comrades, he cried, you do not imagine, I hope, that we pigs are doing this in the spirit of selfishness and privilege. Underline that bit. Many of us actually dislike milk and apples. I'm going to underline that bit. Milk and apples, this has been proved by science, contain substances absolutely necessary for the well-being of a pig. We pigs are brain workers. Now we're going to look at this key quotation. The pigs did not actually work, but directed and supervised the others. Now, because I've taken this quotation from the main extract, I've put quotation marks around it. So you have to do that every time you get a piece of evidence or take some language from the text, from the extract. You need to make sure there are quotation marks around it. Just there, you see, and there. So we're going to look at what this means. It could mean that the pigs are incredibly organised. They're able to see what work needs to be done and how it can be completed. And we can see that through the words or the verbs directed and supervised. So that shows that they have quite a lot of control over what's going on the farm and that they're able to see clearly what needs to be done. And importantly, it seems as though the rest of the animals are listening to these instructions and listening to these directions and respecting their supervision. However, another way that we can interpret this line from the text is that perhaps the pigs are a bit lazy, as directed and supervised suggests that they are not actually helping with the difficult work themselves, and they're just telling the other animals to do it. Now, this second interpretation, that they are appearing lazy, might make us ask, are all of the animals equal at this point? I want you to pause the video now, and I want you to write down whether you think from this line, the pigs did not actually work, but directed and supervised the others, whether that is showing that all the animals on the farm are equal. Here's another quotation. The animals had assumed as a matter of course that these would be shared out equally. One day, however, the order went forth that all the windfalls were to be collected and brought to the harness room for the use of the pigs. What's being spoken about here are the apples that have fallen from the tree. And everyone on the farm thinks that these should be given out to everyone because everyone is meant to be equal, everyone is meant to be treated fairly. But what has actually happened is that the pigs have decided that they are going to have the apples. So what do we learn? We learn that they're quite selfish, greedy. The pigs are taking the luxury goods themselves and not sharing the farm's produce equally. Now, when Orwell says luxury goods, an apple might not necessarily seem like the most exciting treat, but it certainly would have been for the animals. So a luxury good just means anything that is extra, anything that is not needed to survive. So the pigs aren't so far coming across very positively at all. What other point, just like the previous slide, 2 points were made about a key quotation. What else could be said about the pigs here? I want you to pause the video and make another note about how the pigs come across in this little section. Okay, so you should have written down another idea. So our first idea was selfish and greedy, not sharing the product. But also you could have said they're being quite secretive because they're making these decisions without any discussion with the rest of the animals on the farm. They decided that at the beginning of the novel, when they overthrew the farmer Mr. Jones, that all the decisions on the farm would be discussed because that's what they didn't like about the farm under Mr. Jones, and that they didn't have any say. And so they're being quite secretive, the opposite of that. They're being quite secretive, and the pigs are making decisions for the rest of the animals. Now you should be seeing a bit of a pattern here in the pigs' behaviour, and this should remind you of when they took the milk, and it was discovered that this milk that they took from the cows was put into the pigs' mash as well. So the pigs at this point of the novel are not only getting the apples, but they're also getting the milk. Now, when I first read through the extract, I highlighted some of the language in green. This is because it wasn't specifically about the pigs, which is the focus of your question, which is how are the pigs presented in this extract. But these pieces of evidence still tell us something about the way the pigs are presented. So let's look at the ducks first. Ducks and hens. Ducks and hens toiled to and fro all day. So remember, toiled means to work very hard and also suggests that a lot of effort has been put in. So I want you to pause the video and think about how this quotation, ducks and hens toiled to and fro all day, how that quotation allows us to understand the pig's behaviour. So pause the video and write your ideas down. Okay, now I want you to do the same for the second quotation about the animals in general. So these are all the animals apart from the pigs. So the animals had assumed, as a matter of course, that these would be shared out equally. And they're talking about, when they say these, they're talking about the apples. So write down what this quotation tells us about how the pigs are presented, even though it's about how the other animals are behaving. Okay, so you should have some notes now about both of these quotations, but looking at how the pigs are presented. So looking at the ducks and hens, I always forget the hens. This shows that they are very determined and hardworking, and they're making sure that the farm gets completed, gets completed, and making sure that they're doing their bit to help. So that's what we learn about the ducks and the hens here. Then we learn that the animals, the rest of the animals, are quite fair because they want to share everything out equally. They expected that the apples that fell would be shared out equally, and they are following the commandments. And the seventh commandment is all animals are equal, and sharing out food is part of that. So that's what we learn about the other animals, but what does this tell us about the pigs? So the fact that the ducks and the hens are working incredibly hard just emphasises how lazy the pigs are being, and the fact that the other animals are wanting to behave in a fair way shows that the pigs are breaking the rules or the commandments that they created together. So to summarise, how are the pigs presented in this extract, or what do we learn about the pigs in this extract? We've learned that they are organised, but at the same time they're lazy, they're selfish, they act in an unfair way, and they started to break some of the commandments of animalism.